In a small village, nestled between green hills, lived a boy named Arvind. He had a laugh that echoed down the dirt roads and eyes full of fire. Ever since he was a child, he dreamed of becoming a pilot. He would lie on the grass for hours, watching airplanes cut through the sky, whispering to himself, "One day, I'll fly too." His father was a farmer. His mother sold pickles. They weren't rich, but they loved him fiercely. Every coin saved, every meal skipped. It was all for Arvind's dream. By the time he turned 16, he was the pride of the village, the boy with the big dream, the one who was going to touch the clouds. He studied hard, passed exams no one else in town dared to attempt, and finally received an acceptance letter from a flight academy in the city. That evening, the entire village celebrated. They carried him on their shoulders, chanting his name. His mother cried, not from sadness, but from belief. "You'll go higher than we ever could," she whispered. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. Just 3 weeks before Arvind was set to leave for the city, his father collapsed in the fields. The doctors called it a stroke, sudden, silent, and cruel. Overnight, the man who had worked sunrise to sunset could no longer stand, let alone farm. The hospital visits drained their savings. Medicines were expensive, and Arvind's ticket to the sky slowly began to fade in the shadow of reality. His mother tried to hide her tears, insisting he still go. "We'll manage," she said, but Arvind could see the tremble in her hands as she folded his uniforms. At night, he stared at the envelope from the academy, unopened on the shelf. The dream that once felt weightless now carried the heaviness of guilt. One morning, he walked into the village school and asked for a job. "Anything," he said. "I can teach math. I'll clean the yard. Just let me earn." The headmaster was stunned. "But what about flying?" Arvind just smiled faintly and said, "Not all wings need to leave the ground." He never told anyone the full story. He just showed up every day, taught the kids, took care of his father, and held his dreams quietly in his chest, like a song only he could hear. Months passed. Arvind became more than just a teacher. He became a lifeline. Children who once skipped school now ran to his class. He taught them with stories, with games, with kindness. "Math is like flying," he'd say, drawing planes instead of numbers on the board. And when they laughed, something inside him stayed alive. At home, he learned to cook, bathe his father, manage bills. His mother aged faster, worn down by quiet heartbreak and heavy routine. But Arvind never complained. His dream was now folded neatly inside his heart, like his academy letter, untouched but never forgotten. One evening, he saw a little boy standing outside his classroom long after school had ended. "Why are you still here?" he asked. The boy said, "I want to be like you." Arvind looked at him, stunned. "Why me?" The boy replied, "Because you smile like everything's okay, and you make us believe it is." That night, Arvind opened the envelope for the first time. He didn't cry. He didn't tear it. He just looked at the paper, touched it gently, then placed it back, because some dreams aren't meant to be chased. Some are meant to be passed on. Years rolled by. The boy who once dreamt of flying now watched his students take off, one by one. Rani, the shy girl in the third row, got a scholarship to study engineering. Samir, the restless troublemaker, wrote poems that made it into the district magazine. And every time one of them achieved something, they'd return with stars in their eyes and say, "It started in your class." Arvind never took credit. He only nodded, smiled, and handed them a new notebook. "Fly higher," he'd say, "and don't forget where you took off from." But the toll was real. His father passed away quietly one winter night. His mother followed a year later. By 30, Arvind was alone, but not lonely. The village was now his family, the school, his runway. One day, a government official visited the school during a surprise inspection. He watched Arvind teach, walk barefoot between benches, fix a broken fan, share lunch with a student who had none. After the class, the man approached him. "You're wasting your potential here," he said. "Why stay in a place that gave you nothing?" Arvind looked around at the peeling walls, the mismatched desks, the children laughing in the sun, and said, "It gave me them. That's everything." News of Arvind's quiet service spread slowly, like sunrise, not spotlight. An ex-student, now a journalist in the city, wrote an article titled, "The Teacher Who Gave Up the Sky So Others Could Fly." It went viral, not because it was dramatic, but because it was true. Donations came. A scholarship fund was created in his name. Former students returned, not as children, but as engineers, doctors, artists, parents. They didn't bring gifts, they brought stories. One by one, they stood in that same classroom and said, "You changed my life." But Arvind stayed the same. He still opened the school gate each morning, still swept the floor, still read under the tree between classes. He never chased recognition, because his reward wasn't in medals, it was in moments. One rainy day, as thunder rolled through the hills, he stood under a leaking roof and watched a young girl solve a math problem on the board. She turned, beaming, and said, "Sir, I did it." He smiled and whispered, "Yes, you did." And in that instant, something inside him soared. It wasn't the cockpit he had dreamed of, but it was flight, real, beautiful, and his. Not all heroes wear uniforms. Some wear dust on their shoulders, chalk on their fingers, and a quiet ache in their hearts. Arvind never flew a plane, but he lifted lives. He didn't take to the skies, but he built a runway for others to rise. That was his dream all along. He just hadn't known it at first. We often think sacrifice means losing something, but Arvind's story shows us another truth. Sometimes, giving up your dream for someone else is the very thing that gives your life meaning. He chose love over ambition, others over ego, and in doing so, he didn't shrink, he expanded, quietly, permanently. Have you ever given up something you loved for the sake of someone else? What did that choice teach you? Share your story in the comments. It might help someone who's standing at the same crossroads right now. If this story touched something inside you, pass it along to someone who gives without being seen. And subscribe for more stories that prove the highest flights don't always need wings.